Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we are diving into something I think a lot of us have unfortunately experienced, and we're going to completely break down the dark psychology behind sudden silence in relationships. But more importantly, we are going to map out some really actionable strategies to help you get your power back. So if you're ready to decode the hidden mechanics of this manipulation and learn exactly how to protect your peace, you are in the exact right place. Let's get into it.
Seriously, have you ever been hit with just a sudden, totally unexplained wall of silence? We've all been there, right? One day, everything is perfectly normal. You're talking, laughing, the connection is great, and then bam! The very next day, you are shut out completely. It's wild. It leaves you obsessively checking your phone, totally desperate for answers, just agonizing over what on earth you could have possibly done wrong. Going from full connection to absolute nothingness is so incredibly jarring. Well, let's clear the air right now. Multiple psychological experts confirm one very hard truth. This behavior, it is rarely actually about you or what you did. Instead, it's a highly calculated assertion of superiority and power. When someone hits you with the silent treatment, they're sending a very clear message that they are in charge and that your emotional well-being depends entirely on whether or not they feel like speaking to you. It's literally just a game of control, plain and simple.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, your brain on sudden silence, and look at the actual neurochemistry going on here. What's fascinating, and a bit scary, is that you aren't just emotionally missing this person. Your brain is going through a literal, objective neurochemical withdrawal. Think about it. When you're communicating with someone, your brain is just bathing in dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. You feel amazing. But when they abruptly pull the plug, those chemicals plummet. It is emotional cold turkey. Your brain starts craving that good feeling again, which triggers some seriously deep physical anxiety.
And this is exactly where the behavior becomes weaponized. By cutting you off, the abuser is using a psychological tactic called operant conditioning. They are purposely punishing you with silence to modify your behavior. They know that chemical drop in your brain is making you so incredibly anxious that you'll eventually just cave. You'll lower your boundaries or even apologize for things you didn't do just to get that hit of connection back.
Moving right along to Section 2, the 7 stages of manipulation. Let's examine the trap that gets set.
Psychological sources break this toxic dynamic down into 7 very distinct, predictable stages. It's this dark journey that starts with a minor trigger, goes straight into withdrawal and punishment, leaves you totally confused, and then hits you with the fake reconciliation that leads to trauma bonding. And then, the whole thing just repeats itself. Let's look at how this cycle actually kicks off.
The craziest part is that the trigger is almost always something incredibly minor. We're talking about something as small as you just adjusting the AC temperature because you are a bit warm. To most of us, that's literally nothing. But to a highly controlling person, defying their preference causes what psychologists actually call a narcissistic injury. You basically threaten their ego, which leads them straight into stage 2, emotional withdrawal and punishment.
And this brilliantly illustrates why it is so insanely hard to just walk away. After making you doubt yourself and driving your anxiety through the roof, they suddenly initiate this fake reconciliation. They come back acting like nothing ever happened, pouring on the affection. And because you were just so relieved to have them back, you actually end up trusting and valuing them even more. You get locked into a powerful trauma bond, making you terrified of them leaving again.
Which brings us to Section 3, the antidote, taking back control. Let's pivot to the most important part of this explainer and look at some clear boundary-setting strategies.
Look, getting your power back all comes down to your reaction. Because of that chemical drop we talked about, your brain naturally wants you to have a desperate reaction. It wants you to send massive paragraphs, over-explain, and practically beg for their attention. Do not do it. That destroys your self-respect and hands the manipulator exactly what they want. An empowered reaction means stepping out of your emotions and getting highly strategic.
Think about it like the physics of attention for a second. When you constantly chase someone who has purposefully taken a step back, you actually become a repulsive force. You're just proving to them that their little tactic is working perfectly, so they retreat even further. To break this cycle, you have to use a pattern interrupt. You must do the exact opposite of what they expect. When they step back, you step back.
To help with this, experts suggest 3 highly actionable steps to effectively respond to the silent treatment, and do it without escalating the drama. These steps are perfectly designed to protect your peace while completely disarming their attempt to control you. Let's walk through them.
Step 1 is so incredibly effective. Match their level of communication exactly. If they send one tiny text a day, guess what?
you send one tiny text today. If it's totally silent on their end, you go totally silent on yours. By mirroring them, you are firmly cutting off the attention supply they are trying to extract. You're showing them, plain as day, that pulling away is not going to make you chase them.
For step 2, setting boundaries, you need to be vocal but entirely unbothered. If they try to bait you into feeling guilty, hit them with this exact phrase: "I don't agree with you, but I don't want to involve myself in an argument." Wow, it is a brilliant psychological shield. You are firmly stating you don't accept their nonsense while totally refusing to give them the emotional fight they are looking for.
And finally, step 3, the absolute power of stillness. When you do eventually have to interact with them, keep your dignity intact and simply smile. Seriously, the abuser expects their silent treatment to visibly break you. When you demonstrate that your mental balance is perfectly fine and you are genuinely happy in your own life, it internally drives them crazy. It completely frustrates their need for control and turns the tables.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to take a good hard look at your own boundaries and ask yourself one final important question. If a person requires your suffering and your silence just to feel powerful in a relationship, are they truly worth the precious gift of your voice? Remember, you are totally in control of your own reactions. Match their effort, protect your peace, and never, ever beg for a seat at a table where you aren't respected.